Hello. Limitless live on a Wednesday. Very excited to be here. Going to be joined today by Miss Elle Nelson, amazing, wonderful human being. She's joining us live from London, England. Right? That's where you're
in the house. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Is that what they do in London? Whoop, whoop. That's awesome. That's really good. That's a good one. And it's interesting because Ellie and I were just talking. I was in Europe for a couple of weeks, just took some time with the family, traveling around. Was blown away. Love it. I was in Spain and Italy. Amazing times. Strangely, you and I were in Italy at the same time, just in different parts of the country. You were working. I was working on my tan and how many espressos I could get down in a day. But one of the things that you and I kind of saw that was amazing was there's this phenomenon going on in Europe, and apparently it's going on here in America. And your pink blazer kind of tells a story. Yes, Matt Miller, Barbie pink, right? So there was this movie Barbie, and it's huge all over Europe, which is really kind of interesting, right? Because it's very California, America, And you had the opportunity. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Oppenheimer either. I'm going to probably get to Oppenheimer this week. But you saw it, and it had a positive impact on you. Is that correct? Did I get that right, Ellie?
That is correct. And Matt, you got it before we even said anything. I went with the Barbie pink today just for that reason. So there has honestly, I didn't realize it maybe wasn't as much in the US because I haven't been over there yet, but there is so much hype around the Barbie movie. And so I finally was like, I got to see what this hype is about. Took myself to the Barbie movie, and it was really good. Not that I'm, surprised, but it had a pretty powerful message behind it that I think not many people would expect when they go to see a Barbie movie. So
yeah, I was impressed by that. I saw it. I'm like, ooh, the cast is really good. Really thoughtful actors and people behind it too.
Yeah.
What kind of struck you about the movie? What was like, okay, I get why so many people are like kind of buzzing about it.
So I don't want to give too much away for those who haven't seen
no spoiler alert.
I'm going to give a couple little bits in. So if you really don't want to know, kind of cover your ears. But essentially what's going on in the movie is we've got Barbie Land, which is all perfect and magical and wonderful. And it's this place that exists away from the real world. And then we've got the real world. And throughout the movie, those two start to collide, where Barbie then goes into the real world. And because she's going through this process of becoming a human in the real world, she's experiencing things like emotion and aging and realizing that death is a thing, and that some of the stereotypes that were part of her world don't actually exist or look a little bit different in the real world. And so it's just this blending where it just brings to life the reality of human existence and how it's not what we thought it was, or maybe what society or the media sometimes tells us what it is or what it should be. So that's kind of the context of the movie, which for a Barbie movie is pretty big.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You're talking about, we always talk about the fact that our brains, one of their major functions is to create stories around what happens, is to create a narrative so we can process the events that have maybe just occurred in our lives. And so it's interesting taking this world that is kind of like fantasy and having it collide with real world. I mean, you're talking about human existence right there, right? Like not Barbie, not small things they're taking on, big global thought processes.
Yeah, absolutely. It really brings some of those things to life. And I think you hit it right on the head when it's like this story that we're telling ourselves, like what is our reality, and acknowledging that it's reinforced by a lot of things externally. It's not just me, myself, and I, but I'm also being influenced by what I see, who I'm surrounded by, the conversations I'm having, what I'm exposed to. And that's a very real thing. And it kind of brings it to life. But there's this monologue that America Ferrera, she plays the role of the human, or one of the humans in the movie.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but she was the writer and director of this movie as well?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. She might be.
I think
I wouldn't be surprised based on the content.
Mari, let us know. Mari's going to do some Googling in the back.
Mari will do the quick typing.
Yes.
She might be.
She is not. She's
She
not.
is not. In
Well, I
fact,
want to give her credit.
but hey, that would have been great.
Yes.
So she's got this monologue in the movie because essentially Barbie's getting to a point, and Barbie's played by, oh, what's her name? We know her name.
I know. Now that you're saying it, now I'm blanking. Margot Robbie. We have Mari in the back who's totally happy.
Mari deserves more credit on this. Yeah, yes. Margot Robbie. Thank you. As soon as I thought it. So Margot Robbie is playing Barbie, and she is feeling all these emotions. She's feeling a lot of internal conflict from who she thought she was and her identity, and her self-esteem. And so she's just kind of having a little breakdown. And there's this monologue from America Ferrera, who's playing the human. And I'll read it. I'll read a part of it. I won't read the whole thing. But she says, "You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for a doll just representing women, then I don't even know."
Yeah, it's that's a stunning quote.
Yeah.
Right. It's just powerful. It's stunning. It kind of hits. And the thing that really jumped out at me is this kind of helplessness that is surrounding it. I don't know if that's what hit you about it, but for me, you kind of hear that, and there's this like, hey, I got to be perfect, and even when I'm perfect, I'm wrong, right? Yeah. So there's no winning whatsoever, which is really interesting.
I would agree with that. I think it's like this. It's almost, if I think about my own experience too, it's almost like this force that for a long time we push and we push and we push, chasing this perfection, trying to be who we think we're supposed to be, but not really sure who that is. And so we're just pushing to try and figure it out, wondering if somebody will know if we've actually gotten there. And I think in the movie, it was this moment where she realized it's not possible, and what am I after in the first place?
Yeah, you there's a word you just used, Ellie, supposed to be. And it's interesting, like we were talking about it, this movie is obviously it's going to resonate differently for a female than it is a male, probably. I don't know, I haven't seen it. That's my sense. But in that word supposed to, that is, it's really interesting because that hits everyone. It's global. Who am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be to my family? Who am I supposed to be at work? Who am I supposed to be in society? Who am I supposed to be on Instagram? Right? It's interesting. I was just listening to a talk about Instagram and how what's the right word I'm going to use? It's desensitizing in the sense of the optics are fake in a lot of ways, right? Because you're choosing whether or not it's a real picture of you or a filtered picture of you. You're always choosing the one that makes you look best. You're not choosing the one that's like, oh yeah, look at how big that zit was on my face or whatever, right? Like there's an image consciousness to it, and I think that's what really hit me there was the word supposed to. Because you and I work in a field of helping people thrive.
Right.
And when we talk about thriving, the word supposed to, the word should, right, is a word that does not lend itself to thrive. So how did that resonate for you?
I think it ties into, so somebody had taken me through this exercise once, and this is actually what it makes me think of. And I would be curious your thoughts on this too. So it's called like a society scorecard. So if we think of like two columns, if we start tallying them up, the society scorecard is what what is society reinforcing is important for you, right? This is where this is the supposed to be category. So what is society reinforcing is important for you? So I guess if I think of it for myself, it could be, and this is just for me personally, if I'm just kind of rolling with it, it might be the way that I look, it might be what job I have, how popular I am, like how much feedback and validation I'm getting, whether that's online, whether that's in person through getting compliments. It could be like the amount of money that I make and financial stability. So those are a couple things that come to my mind. What about for you, like society scorecard?
Society scorecard, yeah, certainly the financial aspect of it. I'm in my 50s now, and so that's a bit like, it's funny. I drive a minivan. My son's taking the minivan sooner than later, and I'm like, okay, what kind of car should I get? And it's like I'm really kind of like contemplating why I want a good car,
Mhm.
right? Like I'm really kind of like struggling with that in a lot of ways. Like I could just, no, we just go get like, reasonably priced car that works great. All I do is drive around town. It's not like, I'm not getting jobs because of the car. I'm not making impact because of the car I drive, right? But you think about that, especially, in my neighborhood, there's a lot of nice cars. So it's just like, okay, am I, so there's that keeping up with the Joneses thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, the other thing is like the society scorecard. What else do I care about? Yeah, I think coming across as somebody who's doing big things, right?
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
that matters to me, right? When we won the World Series, I was super proud because I was a part of something that was huge, right? And so, yeah, that was supposed to be, right? That's definitely there for me. That's
I
the
think
scorecard thing. Yeah,
so. You like that just reminded me of one that resonates with me too, which would be like achievement. And
yeah,
I always thought that was something that was coming from me. That was my quality. That is what is maybe a core value of mine. But then through some self discovery, I've realized that that was more of something that I got a lot of praise for when I was young. For achieving so much and doing so much and taking on so many things and saying yes to so many things. Yes, Callan got it right there. It's what's feeding the ego more so, right? And that was something that's actually on my society scorecard and this is getting into the other column, more of my personal scorecard. So
mhm.
what's important to me? What matters most to me? And it's not that achievement doesn't matter most if I'm picking on this one particular topic. It's not that achievement doesn't matter to me, but I think it's more impact. It's making an impact and having that be about somebody else and the good I can do. And that's what matters to me. But I was getting validation through achievement and I started to focus on that. And I
Yeah,
think
I
that
totally, yes, yes.
that's
It's
like
really
you as
interesting
well.
because once I started, so long story short, but I'm working with the New York Mets, and it's 2021, and I haven't seen my family, and I don't even know because we were just coming out of COVID, so there's all these programs. So I didn't see my family. I didn't see my family from February to May. Okay, so it was like almost like a military deployment in a lot of ways. Obviously, my life wasn't on the line every day, so it's not even close to the same. But just in terms of the distance and time I spent away from my family,
Yeah.
um, and that year, Ellie, was hard, just mentally, emotionally. Just I had to do everything I could to not fall into depression, not fall into anxiety, those types of things, right? And I was
Right.
talking with Julia, Dr. Julia West, and her and I were starting to work on curriculum development for Limitless Minds together. And she starts telling me about this thing called values. And I'd heard about values, but I'd never really like investigated it for myself. And
Mhm.
what I quickly realized as her and I were talking is that I had this value of winning. Like that used to be a value of mine. Like winning. Like that's what we do. That's Lifrak is on the team. We win. That's what we do. That was kind of my mindset. Obviously, it
Yeah.
happened with the Cubs. For the first part of the season, it was happening with the Mets. A lot of the teams I've worked with, I have 9 different championships I've been a part of, right? And so, like, I'm like, okay, I'm that's that. But what I started to realize as I was talking with Julia was family was so important to me, and I was living out of line with family. I wasn't around my family. I wasn't connecting with them on a daily basis, and I was watching them kind of grow up without me. The second part was contribution, and so that second value of contributing to others and helping others and engaging others was completely missing. Whether or not we won or lost really didn't matter as long as I was making an impact. And as soon as I took that shift from winning and losing to contribution, the whole year changed for me, and I was able to move through it kind of elegantly. I don't know if that's the right. It was easier to move through it. It was easier to get through the season once I kind of realized that.
Can I ask you, Josh, how did you realize, was it maybe one moment? Was it build up over time? How did you realize that you were kind of living out of alignment?
Yeah, well, I mean, emotions tell you a lot of things, right? How you feel. Actions tell you another thing. So I have always been a person that shows up first, right? Who's always there early, who's always doing the extra work, finding ways to, dive in and put my hands on things and help out, even when people don't ask for it, just getting it done. I'm usually I might not be the last person to leave, but I'm certainly not one of the first person to leave. My actions with the Mets that year were last to arrive, first to leave. Right. So those actions were very clear for me. The second part of it definitely was how you're feeling, and they can be, Colin Henderson always says feelings aren't facts. And I agree with him. They are just kind of indicators and signals. In other words, feelings, like even because you're having a feeling doesn't mean you have to follow that feeling to its end state, right? Like you could go, oh yeah, I'm having this feeling. I don't really want to be in that feeling. Let me shift and get into a different feeling. Lane with a great quote, best part of being human is being able to discover and adjust. Yeah. Thanks, Lane. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, so the feelings I was having too, the lack of enthusiasm, the lack of joy, the lack of laughter, the the frustration I was having on a constant basis, right? Like that was really, 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 really clear for me.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's just this whole, like the society scorecard and then the personal, not even scorecard in that case, but more like what's important, what matters most to me. I think sometimes if we try and go straight to our values and what's important without taking into consideration what external factors might be reinforcing this, it's almost a matter of like addressing and disarming the ego before we visit that conversation so that we can kind of sit in that space with our most authentic self to then get us in the right direction. That's kind of what it makes me think of, and why I feel like that scorecard can be helpful. It provides perspective, but it gets some of those things out of the way so you can really dive into what matters most to you as you, not just Josh the coach, not just Josh the father, but Josh, you as a person, as all of those things.
Yeah, you said it there, authentic. Right. I think that's a good indicator too, that you might be out of line is how authentic you're being in that situation. Right.
Yeah.
So since you've seen that movie, right? When did you see it? Like this week, last week? When did you
see it? 2 days ago.
Okay, cool. So after seeing it, what things have you been kind of noticing in your life, in society, et cetera, right now? Again, you're in London, so different. It is a Western society, but it is a different culture, certainly than the United States, certainly from Spain and Italy, right? So, what did you see in it? What have you kind of noticed?
Let's see. That's a good question. I think it's made me more aware. Not that I wouldn't say I wasn't aware before, but definitely more aware of where I'm spending my time and my energy, what I'm exposing myself to. I feel like it comes up a lot, but like, who are the people and the things that I'm following on Instagram? Do I need to be seeing those things all the time? Who am I following on
Mm.
Twitter or anywhere? What kind of conversations am I having, and what are those conversations focused on?
You're like
And
one of the last people on Twitter, by the way, just so you know.
I'm not on Twitter. Well, no, I am. I'll like check it every now and again, but I don't use it.
I know. I'm just laughing at everybody's just jumping ship. Anyway, sorry.
I don't.
Keep going.
We won't get into that. But then the other thing is something that I have noticed in the past, and again, I've tried to be more conscious, but this brought it up for me again, was asking questions to try and get validation. Like, this is an obvious example. Oh, does this look okay? Or, oh, I'm a mess today. And you're just hoping somebody will pick you up and tell you that it's kind of like throwing those comments in there because we would like a little encouragement. And to my partner the other day, I deliberately was like, hey, can you give me a little pep talk? Because I'm feeling kind of low. I wasn't like, oh, I'm not pretty right now. Or, oh, I wasn't like fishing. I went, hey, would you mind picking me up a little bit? Because I would really appreciate it. Like, I'm just going to ask for it. And it's made me more mindful of that too.
You know what's great about that is just the clarity of it. Like just, hey, this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I need from you as a partner. Like, that's awesome. That's incredible, because we do, right? Like we send these soft little signals, and maybe hopefully, versus like, yo, I'm going to admit that I'm not feeling great right now, and I need some. What was the pep talk? What was the pep talk you gave me?
Oh, yeah. It was
you just start clapping, like, yeah, here we go. Ellie's in the house. Yeah, just started yelling and screaming at you. Let's go, jumping jack. Woo!
Like, where has the time gone where we don't feel like we can ask for what we need or what we want? We feel like we have to kind of fish or talk around it. I feel like that's become a thing. And I think it's beautiful when people are like, hey, I'm kind of having a rough day. Would you mind having a chat with me? Not like, oh, are you okay? Just kind of like, I don't know. We indirectly are really needing and wanting support, but we don't know how to ask for it. And we're afraid of the response we're going to get. And we feel like it's shameful if we can't ask for it, because we think we should be perfect and wonderful and great all the time. And I think the movie allows you to step into a space where you're like, you know what, I can be me. And that's a good thing, because the world needs me as me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And what's funny about that is, like, I don't know, what are you like? You're like 28, 29 now. How old are you?
28.
Sorry to ask that on camera. but the point of it is, when I was your age and I was starting off in this career of mental skills, I always used to think that I had to be perfect mentally, that I couldn't show people that I was having marital problems. I couldn't show people that I was depressed. I couldn't show people that I was anxious. Like, gosh forbid, the mental skills coach is a mess mentally. Like, what I realized later on, and this happened, I probably learned this when I was about 45. And, so think about that. I did that for 15 years of just kind of faking it all the time, right? When I wasn't really feeling it. And it really hit me when I was going through a tough time in 2019, when I was leaving the Cubs, and I was having anxiety. I was having depression. And I was like, oh, actually, this is really good for me as a consultant. This is really good for me as a mental performance coach to go through, because now I understand it even more, right? So here I am, and I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, right? Because knowledge minus action, right? We might know the things to do and know, but the reality of mental fitness is that you're going to go up and down. And there's going to be times where you gain a little weight in fitness, right? And there's going to be times where you're fighting shape, right? And so at that point, it was kind of like I needed to get back in shape mentally. And so it was great to go through that, but it was really interesting to have you say that now, how great that is for you to understand, hey, wow, like, even though I'm a mental coach, I am not perfect. And I'm going to have things that are real, that are occurring in my life. And you know what? Because they're occurring, I can actually learn from that and use that to teach others, which is like, then that becomes super authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is actually like coming up this week for me, and so that's why I'll share it. So some of the work that we did last week in Italy with the team, we're in preseason right now, and last week we decided this is our opportunity to build relationships and build connection and build trust, and we're going to do that by being vulnerable and stepping out of our comfort zone and creating a safe space for that. And so each day of the preseason trip last week, I think it's fine if I talk about this because I was doing, yeah, we're good. But each day we got a little bit more and more out of our comfort zone. And so finally we worked towards it on the last day. And we talked about defining our values as individuals and what things mean to us and what the game means to us. And on the last day, each person had about 3 minutes, give or take, where they stood up in front of the group, put pictures on the wall if they wanted to, and talked about their why, their journey, their core values, kind of whatever they felt they wanted to share that was related to that. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever been a part of. You know, we as a team, like
probably you guys were crying, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm crying just thinking about it.
but we had some of the older players, and this honestly humbled me. We had some of the older players in the team who have played, you know, for their national team, top level, and they got up and, you know, one of them, she's quite well known. She was like, I struggle with my self-confidence quite a lot, and I get really down on myself, but I'm committed to working on it. And that's something that's important to me. And this is why. And she was like, and these, I don't want to tell you what my core values are because I want you to be able to see them throughout the season because I want to demonstrate them every day. And I hope that you'll give me the chance to do that. And she came up and she was just real. And that was just one example. There were so many of the girls in the team that did that. And for me, including staff. And for me, I was like, I try and be real, but this just took it to a whole new level and inspired me to be the most real I can because this was so powerful. And it made me want to fight for that person and connect with that person. And so that was a lesson for me, honestly, this week that I was like, I think I could be more authentic with my shortcomings and that I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And that my job isn't to know everything. My job is to ask the right questions and to be there and create a space, but I'm not the expert of other people's lives. They are.
Yep.
And
this is why you're one of the best in the world at what you do, Elle. You know, you are, and it shows, right? And so, but that's it. That's the whole thing. Is like we aren't going to be perfect. We authenticity breeds authenticity. Thanks, and you know, it's funny, Thomas. You're welcome. This is what we do. This is Limitless Minds. We're going to be real. We're going to be authentic. We're going to be open. We're going to be vulnerable because what that shows is that growth is possible, right? And that's the whole key to everything. We talk here all the time about a life by design versus a life by default. If you just let the emotions take control of you, that's a life by default. A life by design is one where you feel like you are absolutely thriving and you are living the best life that you can possibly live and that you want to live. And so by going through those dips, by having those realizations, by being authentic, by sharing your values, that's the direction it's going to pull you and constantly push you. And we have Barbie to thank for that. So thanks, Barbie.
Thanks, Barbie. On that note.
Thanks, Barbie. Who do we got coming up tomorrow? Who's coming up tomorrow, Elle? Who do we got tomorrow?
Oh, drum roll, literally and figuratively, because we have Hubert on tomorrow and Tanya.
Oh, Hubert and Tanya. Yeah, you think this was heavy? Just buckle up, kids. Bring your seatbelts to tomorrow. That's all I gotta say. You know, buckle up. Talon, Wayne, Thomas, Carla, everybody. Thank you so much. What about Ken? What about Ken? Thomas says. What about Ken?
Oh, do you know what? Watch the movie, Josh, because Ken gets his moments, and Ken, yeah, you just watch it. I won't give it away. We'll end on that note.
I like that. Elle, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for what you do, but for more importantly, thank you for who you are. We really appreciate you. And tune in tomorrow for Tanya and Hubert. Drum roll. I'll get it now. Hubert, drum roll.
You just got it.
Thanks, everybody. Take it easy. Have a great day.